Alright, so I'm going to try this VOD review again. The first one had some cropping issues. So the kill feed wasn't showing properly and you couldn't see all my notes. So we're gonna do this again. This time, yeah, so okay, let's make sure everything's fine here. So a little background on this match. This was a local LAN event. It's a local tournament. Um, and this is the grand final between the team that I'm on, which is the Squid squad, which is the one on the right, and this team, which is comprised partly of UBC's collegiate roster. I think they have one or two fillers right now. For this event, I think they got some mercs, so they're going by the name Team Premier. And this is a best of 5, which means it's first to 3. And this is map 1, and the maps were decided by pick ban. So we banned 2, they banned 2, and then they picked 1, which was Gibraltar, and then we picked 1, which was Lijiang Tower. And so this is their map pick. This is the first map of the grand final. There was a slight issue here when we started, which was one of our team members got disconnected from Discord, or his Discord wasn't working. So we called for a pause, actually, right here near the end. We called for a pause, and unfortunately, the organizers weren't fast enough. And by the time the pause happened, it was too late. So by the time they paused, the clock already started. And what this means is after a couple of seconds, they can see our roster and we can see their roster or their composition. And we were running a Pharah and a Widow, which is a big deal. So the game had to be restarted. We decided not to change our roster, just out of, I guess, respect, and just because that's what we were going to run. So we're not going to make any changes, but they did make a change. So as you can tell, they were running here. Let's go back. So they're running May, and now they're running a hog. So they made a change here, and this hog's gonna come in key. I don't know. I guess a little slimy, but whatever. We decided to stick to the roster we were gonna run regardless, which was Zarya here, not Sombra. But with the Pharah Widow, we decided to keep running, and we're just gonna kind of see what kind of counterplay we can do. We do have a plan here, and we'll get to that once that happens. So, kind of inspecting what's happening. The Zarya actually instantly gets 40, which is already a slight mistake, but what are you gonna do? I actually get a soldier pick here, very early, and this happens because I just kind of go around here. I spawned from the back. I went from the far right, and I went around and I climbed, and I just ended up here and took the sight line, and I was able to pick him literally like 2 inches away from the shield. And at this point, they also don't have a lot of shield either, so they have to drop. Notice that they're also running a Zenyatta, which is an interesting pick. They were running him before they knew we were running Pharah. So this was just who they decided to hold with on this map as a second support. And I don't know, I feel like it's an interesting pick. It's strong against the Pharah, obviously, but it's the lack of speed here. None of their heroes have a lot of mobility. So the Widow's actually really strong here, and the Lucio's going to be really strong here. And I feel like this is something that we potentially could have made more use of, but we never ended up capitalizing as hard as we probably could have on this pick. So, you still get good counterplay with the Discords, but this will be interesting regardless. So The fight actually starts pretty early. After the pick, we're kind of clumped. We have the Widow up top, and we hook their Reinhardt. He gets bubbled, and actually I think he gets out here, which is a slight mistake. Other picks here include their Hog actually went from the side of the map and picked Sarfera, and our Ana picks their Zenyatta from really far away from these angles. So already a lot of frags going down either way. Unfortunate that the Shrine lived, but now with their shields down, this is a chance for us to commit. Um, so as we're trying to commit, our Hog actually gets hooked and dies. And this actually is probably enough for us to decommit here and just reset completely. We won't be able to push without the Hog. We don't have enough damage on the front. So despite the fact that we got that we killed the soldier early and we killed the Zen early, we still lost our Pharah, and then we got hooked, and so that forces us to reset here. So at this point, we're going to try to reset, and we're going to just go ahead and start setting up for the play that we wanted to do, which is take the high ground and try to push server with it. I actually get hooked here, which is a slight mistake, I would say. I guess I wasn't calculating the Hog's position there. I was focused on getting like another early pick, which would help us in the next fight against maybe one of these squishies we're playing out in the open. And this Hog, playing pretty much not completely by himself, but pretty by himself, was able to kill me because our Hog was respawning and we still were regrouping. So it's a mistake for me to be pushed up that far, and it was punished promptly by that Hog's positioning. So now they have to wait for me. We were just waiting for a Hog. Now they have to wait for me. And what ends up happening here is actually our Pharah gets hooked too and dies. So this is more than just a nuisance now. This is actually a big deal. Bleeding in this game is really bad, obviously, but for a lot of reasons. Note, when our Hog gets picked and we start retreating, so now we've set up. Remember, note the time is 3 minutes and 10 seconds right here. And by the time I get picked, by the time our Pharah gets hooked and dies, I actually like literally just respawn. So if you notice, I literally just respawn. He literally just died, and this is what constitutes a bleed. I bled myself, and then Pharah bled, and as if that wasn't enough, we're actually gonna bleed a third player here, just Lucio, who literally just got sniped by the Ana here. If you keep an eye out on that. Just kind of on the right side, gets fucked there. And that's a third bleed. And as our Pharah comes back up as soldier, our Lucio dies. So this is a huge mistake. It's a huge misplay. Lucio didn't really have that much he could be doing there either, and there was, I don't know, mistakes were made, but this is actually gonna kill the clock really hard. And at this point, it's really important for everybody to just regroup completely, so we can start a push again. So remember, it was 3 minutes and 10 seconds when we first started regrouping before I bled. And now what should have been basically just a 15-second regroup, basically we're just waiting for the Hawk to come back up and come up and we're ready to go at 3 minutes and 3 minutes, has now turned into basically a full minute down, just from having bled our players. And now at 2:17 we're ready to push. I hit my ultimate, and everyone kind of groups up. I get an early pick here on the Zenyatta, and there's actually a strategy here, and I get another pick here on the Zarya as well. So there actually is a strategy here. Even without these picks, there's a strategy we're going for. So the idea here is our tanks group up and start putting pressure on their server, while myself and ideally a Pharah, but we did switch, would go to the catwalk on the other side of server room. And this would create a situation where we're actually going to be spamming them really hard, or we're just going to have a lot of pressure on them, a lot of damage on them, and they won't be able to do much. So this is kind of the plan in action, if that makes sense. I'm up here, ideally with a Pharah or something, in this case running a soldier, while the tanks push the right side on server and crush them. And they're going to have so much pressure coming at them from a lot of directions. Their healers are going to get not a lot of room here. They're going to have to back up maybe this way. This is no longer an option for them, backing up to try to get onto the payload. And And now this is a sight line that they have to be very aware of, and very careful about, and this kind of restricts the way they can play. This was the plan, but unfortunately it doesn't go exactly as planned. So what ends up happening is, because we spent so much time bleeding, the payload actually moved positions. We thought it was going to be up here in the corner, but it actually went all the way back down to the bottom. And so what ended up happening was, I think, a bit of an overreaction to it and a mistake. So despite the fact that we get 2 picks here, look at what happens to our tanks, and just to our main line. We actually dropped down. We dropped down everybody. So everybody drops down. We had an Ana, a Ryan, a soldier, and a hog all up here. And instead of doing what we were planned on to do in the first place, which is just pressure these players in server, we decided to go back, or I guess the team decided to go back so that they can push the payload, which I think is a mistake for a couple of reasons. First of all, we're giving them this high ground where the soldier and the hog now have the ability to kite my widow, to kite the widow from the other side, and just contest the cart from this way anyway, just contest the cart from the high ground. And it also gives them so this exit, it also gives them another exit here on the right if they need to get out or flank. Um, and on top of all of that, they were 2 players down, and there's still 2 players down. So what this means is all we had to do here was just push with our tanks into here, and they'd get fucked. It's pretty much a dead even fight. We have Ryan, Hog, Soldier, Ana versus Ryan, Hog, Soldier, Ana. With the added benefit of, in this case, maybe having a Lucio on the payload and a Widow spamming from Catwalk. And so we have numbers on them in this sense. So all we really needed to do here was put our Lucio on the payload, um, and push the payload that way while we pressure them from server, from the front with our tanks, from the back with our Widow. And they can't get on the payload because they get killed by the Widow. They have to engage our tanks and potentially die, or get in a really scrappy fight that at most or at worst would kind of trade with favorable spawns. So instead, this doesn't happen. Despite the fact that we're positioned properly for it, our soldier decides to, after jumping down, to actually commit with me in the back. Because the idea here was he was going to be on Pharah and commit with me anyway and just spam them. But this is no longer a viable tactic. And because there's now a shield and there's no other place that this shield can be contested from, the strategy kind of falls apart. And despite the fact that, and now this hog has time to rotate. The payload was kind of getting committed to by the team, and so there was no pressure on them. So this hog can just roam instead of having to fight, which is what we wanted them to do. So here we commit. So there's the soldier down here, and I'm up here, and we're just committing to the spawn camp. The idea of maybe killing the Zarya and the Zenyatta. And Zarya was under a lot of pressure, so I dropped down to help the soldier with her, but it was, I think, too much damage. The soldier decided to back up. He was getting pressured really hard. I just die here, but regardless of this, there's still 3 players back, and this is theoretically winning. Even with the fact that we weren't able to kill their Hog or their Reinhardt or their Ana by just squishing them with the strategy, this is still theoretically winning. Unfortunately, the Hog drops down, and the soldier isn't necessarily back in time, and the Zarya actually kills both of us. So this turns into just a failed fight. They clean the rest of us up pretty easily. Whole Hog is popped here, which I think is actually not bad. Like, Whole Hog can be used to in fights like this sometimes. They clean up the rest of our players, and we just have no counterplay. We didn't kill a single one of them. Literally, the only players that died that entire fight was the Zen and the Zarya that I solo killed before the fight even started. So that was a 6v4 that really kind of went to shit, unfortunately. Regardless, now we're regrouped, and they have some alts. We've got some alts too. So they have 4 alts. We have 2 alts and 2 on the way. And I decided to switch to Zarya here, which I think is probably not the best idea. So Zarya makes sense in the context of their Hog, because their Hog is getting a lot of counterplay, going for these kind of elaborate flanks and going around from the back and going around, help assisting and then dropping down. So the idea here with the Zarya is to try to stop the Roadhog from getting a lot of play going. But I think, like, with 1 minute left, I'm not going to have time to build a Graviton. And the Hog is still going to probably go around and avoid me and maybe just kill players on the side. Maybe a more accurate pick here would have been Tracer. Not just because the Tracer would contest the Hog directly, but would also put a question mark on this Zenyatta, who's kind of squishy and pretty easy Tracer pick when you consider that we have the Lucio speed and they have no speed to answer it. So kind of getting in the back and harassing their sports that way with no real tangible CC for the Tracer and a lot of pressure from the front with a minute, which is enough to build a pulse bomb, which goes through the trance anyway. I think the Tracer was probably a more accurate pick here than the Zarya, and maybe would have found more success. Regardless, we go for this different play, which switch tactics, which makes some sense. The payload's all the way over here, and so we don't want to kind of push from main, so we decide to push from the side, which makes a certain amount of sense when you think about it. And we encounter this weird situation where the Reinhardt's actually out of position. Um, there's a Zarya here, but she doesn't, she's gonna rotate this way. She doesn't want to get hooked. And this Reinhardt is no position. He doesn't have Shatter. He used it last fight, and we even calculated that. We knew he used Shatter, so we knew he doesn't have it. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is in the back here, and we have Earth Shatter. So I think maybe the play here would be to just, instead of coming out facing the Reinhardt, we come out facing the team and just shatter them this way. This Reinhardt is not going to be an issue. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have potentially an Ana. I'm not sure if he's probably playing on the high ground somewhere. You have a Hog with his hook capability. You don't want your back turned to that. Regardless, we don't know where the Hog is playing at this point. But we didn't really have, the Ryan didn't have enough time to analyze this position because we just kind of just came out and we saw, there was this thing happening. He was already getting discorded. And then literally just an instant combination of a pin with the biotic grenade is enough to instantly kill the Reinhardt with no counterplay. We were able to kill the Zarya on the side because I think they flanked us here and we were just they were trying to create pressure. And the Hog comes in from behind anyway, picks the Ana, and the Soldier for a good measure. And from here, it's pretty much over. Like, this push is over. So really kind of difficult there to come up with the right answer. Obviously, the play was you just turn around and potentially Earth Shatter the Zenyatta or Earth Shatter whatever's playing on the floor or even from behind us. But this is a really difficult play to think about when you kind of literally just come out and all you see is this Reinhardt and then you instantly get naded and pinned. So I don't know, this is a tough call. Maybe if we had a soldier on the high ground for information, or maybe if he had more information, maybe even like a Lucio in the back or something for just keeping an eye on the flank, would have potentially changed things. Instead, we all kind of went from the same door and we got crushed, which is what'll happen when you come out just of a single stroke by yourself, or just in one straight line. So we're just regrouping here. We got to pick on the Hog in the end, but there's not much you can do with that. Like the Hog, if our Hog, if he wanted to, he could peek here, kind of inconsequentially, because when you pick the Hog like this, when you instantly pick the Hog, you actually have this option of sneaking just down here or up here. This is risky, but up here is pretty not risky, even on top, and looking for an early pick. It's a bit of a risky play, but since you don't have a lot of time, it's more viable when their Roadhog is down. When you just pick the Roadhog, they have no real way of kind of punishing you for making a peek like this. So obviously this is not a mistake. I think the correct play and the smart play is to just wait for the rest of your team, especially considering the fact that we were already bleeding really hard this tournament, this match. So it makes a lot of sense for us to kind of hold back and regroup. But there's just kind of maybe a potential play here. Always want to look at, when might be good times maybe to actually go for something. And I think this would have been not a bad time. Obviously, a sleep pin would have killed you, but if you're peeking here, that's the only place where you can get sleep pinned. From up here, you might get sleep set, but you're not going to get pinned, and you're not going to get hooked because you just killed the Hog. So I feel like small potential there. A more aggressive, riskier Hog might have gone for a play like this. But this isn't a mistake. This is just a comment, maybe something that could have been played differently. But the correct play is always to regroup with the team and push together. So correct play was chosen here. And we're just gonna push main at this point. The payload's too far up for us to consider pushing the side again. So this time we have a bunch of ultimates and we hit the Nano Hog. And I bubble him here. And the idea here is to maybe push them away with the nanoed whole hog. And this kind of provokes the graviton from them, which is not bad. Um, and at this point, we actually use a whole bunch of ults. We use our Lucio ult and our Earth Shatter. They counter with Zen ult. Unfortunately, Zen doesn't get caught in the Earth Shatter. I think he catches a few players with it, but the Zen wasn't one of them, and so the Zen was able to get his trance out. To add on top of that, the Ana got an insane nade. If you watch this grenade from up top, our shield broke because they just had a lot of pressure on it, and this nade just comes out and destroys our team. At this point, our Reinhardt felt like the only way he could kind of salvage this push was to maybe get a nice pin and kill something, but I don't think he realized how many of us got purpled and how hard we needed to reset there. So maybe, so I think the pin was slightly premature, but I understand the logic behind it. It makes a lot of sense to try to get something out of it. But right now, pinning into a trance while purple is not going to end very well, unfortunately. We do get a nano out of it, which is nice. We got a nano visor. He kills our Reinhardt with it, but that's all he gets. We get our visor out too, maybe premature into the Zen ult again. And now he has to hide because their visor comes out. It's a little bit stronger. So he makes the right play and he hides, and we even kite with our hog, which is impressive. The fact that our hog doesn't die here. So we recommit. I'm chasing the soldier really hard. And this is kind of basically the final push. We have players on the side here. The Zenyatta maybe can get punished here. I think he does. But at this point, a lot of kind of picks come out. The hog dies. I think we're chasing the soldier here together, and he just gets hooked. Our Lucio dies. I die here to the hog after only killing the Zen. And at this point, it's just clean up, and they're able to hold us here on the first point.
Score 0-0. Switching sides.
So now it's our turn to attack. Sorry, their turn to attack and our turn to defend. In considerable fashion, they decide to run a bastion here. They even have the Torb just in case of another pause, so we don't see that they want to run that. Classic, kind of slightly slimy, but whatever. This was before the Bastion patch that came out, which made Bastion really strong. Like, they made him tanky and removed his headshots. So this was, at the time, still considered to be a bit of an unconventional strategy. In the sense that you would see it in pugs a lot. Like, you would see, if you're matchmaking or something, you would see a Bastion being run in this particular way with the Mercy to support with a damage boost. However, against an organized team, you're kind of putting your chips on them not being able to deal with a Bastion or not understanding how to counter a Bastion. This is still a very greasy play, but I like the idea behind it, which is if they can catch us off guard with the Bastion, then there's a chance they can just push the payload all in one push and just kind of push it directly and end the match early. That's the idea they're going for here. We decide not to even peek early. A lot of teams, will actually peek early here just to scope them out and kind of figure out what was going to happen. But we knew their hog was strong and we didn't want to get hooked. Basically, we knew that if we dropped a player early, then that would just spell doom for us. I actually wanted us to peek. I wanted us to be holding up, but the rest of the team was kind of scared of the hog and they didn't want to get smashed, so we decided to hold further back. If we had held up, we still wouldn't have seen the Bastion because of the way they ended up playing this. They ended up hiding the Bastion, so that we wouldn't see it when they peeked. And then they got on the payload with him once they're ready to push. With the Mercy buffing him, the idea here is to destroy our shield and just break right through. But at this point, Lofty, who has Reinhardt, calls the Bastion, and he stops speaking, which is correct. And we're already kind of grouped up and organized, so the idea for us is to try our hardest to just commit on this Bastion, ideally from the high ground. Um, so I'm running Hog here, and Catacos is on Zarya. And from here, Reinhardt turns around. There we are. We're ready to go. Unfortunately, we started firing, I think, a bit early. I think maybe you should have waited for my hook to come out first, because now the hook comes out and it's just meant with a shield. Um, Regardless, this is kind of the moment of truth, and they are kind of hurt. Even with this Bastion, there's not enough healing happening. They kill out Reinhardt, but we were able to dive the Bastion with a nade, and this actually looks pretty good. Already the Zarya is going to get healed, but is really out of position. And I pick their soldier here, we kill their Bastion, and their Zarya. Is that their Zarya or our Zarya? Sorry, that was our Zarya that died. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. So it's their nade that comes out. So maybe their nade came out a little, I'd say a little bit late, honestly. But so they're just gonna push our Zarya here, she's really strong, and get her killed. And maybe try to recommit on the payload. But meanwhile, on the flank, both their damage dealers are down, and it's kind of just their Reinhardt right now. And he gets purpled, and he's gonna probably die here. So at this point, they are dropping their damage. So these players, the Bastion was dead, and so the only player doing damage right now is the Zarya and the Ryan who just died. So this unfortunately isn't going to be enough, and they don't have Lucio to speed out anyway. Slightly embarrassing here, I hook her, but I don't have ammo, so I didn't reload properly, so I just hook her and she gets away, although the mobile comes out. They're still kind of trying to commit, but now it's our Reinhardt's turn to try to cause some chaos, and he's actually pretty well positioned here. At this point, they should have just given up. I feel like they stuck around the fight too long, and they got punished for it. I genuinely feel like as soon as their damage died, like around here, they should have just regrouped and left the fight completely, instead of continuing to commit like the way the Zarya is coming back up and they're all kind of still in the fight. I feel like they should have just regrouped here a lot harder. Instead, they're staying in a losing fight, and this kind of buys us a lot of time. You'll notice that when we were bleeding, we started bleeding at around 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and it was around 2 minutes 17 that we got to the fight again. The reason we started bleeding earlier was because we actually got an early pick here, if you guys remember, and then we got another pick on the Zenyatta, and we actually started pushing really early. So we kind of got basically an extra push. Not really, but we got, like, our push happened a lot earlier on the clock than theirs did, which is actually really strong, and it's kind of this a byproduct of the risk of holding up on the high ground like this. So they were doing it, and they lost a player, and we committed really hard, and we got an extra push out of it. So maybe there's something to be said about the dangers of holding forward like this. But I still think it's worth it just for the information sometimes. Regardless, I actually get another pick on the Ana here from the side. I'm right there. So their Hog was playing really aggressively on their defense. He was basically just playing the flanks really hard and just hooking players left and right. So I decided to do the same thing, and lo and behold, their Ana's out of position. She's still in the bottom of the pit here, where she should have just been back in the back of her team. So I get a very easy flank on the Ana. And this pick is going to cause them to bleed. So now the counter bleed coming out. We were bleeding on our push, now it's their turn to bleed, and it looks like things are more even now, because by the time they're ready to push again, it's basically the same time that we were ready to push. With ults pretty even. Really nice fire strike here too. And at this point, they're kind of grouped up. I expect them to push server, so I go for this play on the left. And I think this is a mistake. So I don't end up dying here, but I should have died. And this hook was a bit of a mistake, in my opinion, because I expected them to be kind of pushing this way and not to have a lot of play over here. But they're actually all grouped up and ready to collapse on me. And I was way too far away from my team to get any sort of follow-up on it. So my trying to get a hook here, making a play, is definitely a misposition. If I obviously hooked Squishy there and killed it, it would have been, oh, amazing, he got a support, but their supports aren't going to play like that anyway. So I hook a Zarya, who's not a very good target to hook anyway. I pull her in, and the idea here is I have whole hog, so even if they try to push me, I can push them back. That was the idea, but this forces the entire fight to take place here. We drop Beat and we use Earth Shatter and we use Whole Hog to get these two pigs, and they actually have res here. Um, so their Earth Shatter comes out. I'm not sure how many it picks. Their soldier is kind of engaging our support from the top, and they actually get slept here by our Ana, which is actually really good. It allows for our soldier who has his visor, and I think he has nano as well. So this kind of comes just in time. Um, we used a lot of alts here. We used Hog. We used this. We used Beat. They rezzed, and then we had our nano visor just in time to from the high ground to mop up the rest of these squishies. And this is very clutch actually. If we hadn't been able to pull this ult off, or someone got slept, or someone got hooked, or whatever, this wouldn't have panned out well for us. But instead, this nano visor actually ends up, you know, incongruously with kind of some coordination, we're able to mop up their team in a losing fight. They are running Genji now instead of Bastion, and he picks the Ana, which is not bad because the fight just ended, so it's not like this Ana's going to be late to the fight. However, this next pick is going to be a little bit bad because I was pushed up here looking for more frags, looking for more early frags, the idea of staggering them, of bleeding them harder, but instead I get bled myself by the Genji. And I'm not going to be back up in time for this next fight. They're going to be here pretty fast. So definitely too aggressive there. But you know, that was my idea. Was I wanted to play more aggressively to try to get some sort of counterplay going, where whatever they're pushing, I want to like push to the side and get a pick or try to bleed them. Um, this mentality isn't fantastic because it's not a very team like based playstyle, but this isn't normally my playstyle anyway. This is just how I played for this particular hold because I felt like it was important to try to keep as much pressure on them as possible. But that was definitely a mistake, and I think even the earlier positioning hook was probably a mistake. It ended up fine for us. We won that after using 5 ultimates, but who knows how that could have ended differently. If I had waited for them to push server on their own, maybe I would have gotten a whole hog for free. So I don't know, a lot to be said there about my playstyle, I think. This is definitely bad for me to die here in this position. So regardless, we have 2 grabs, and I feel like this is a fine time to grab for us. We don't have to wait any longer, and both the grabs come out at the same time. This is fine. The blade comes out trying to capitalize on this grab, but he actually gets shut down instantly by a soldier, which is really good. And not just that, but their Zarya gets Ana-nated. Our Ana is pretty disgusting. And we actually kind of get the upper hand on this grab somehow, just because we were facing each other. The Ryans were facing each other, and they weren't facing the Ana in the back. So the Ana was able to get a beautiful nade, and their Ana from here has no angle to get a nade on our grab. So this nade actually kind of changes the tide of battle. And I'm going to be back here just in time as well. So they pop their visor, kill out Reinhardt, but that's okay because we got so much play out of that shield anyway. And we shut down their sword for their Genji ult. So they don't have a lot going on here. And they're already down 2. This attack's not happening. So regardless, they decide to keep committing. This is an issue. Like if I were to criticize this team, this is something else I would criticize them for. They need to recognize when this fight is lost and just back up. Right now, they're just needlessly still in the fight, and they're just gonna get completely crushed because of it. I'll point out one other thing that helped us win that fight, which was our Zarya in the back. After the Graviton came out, what ended up happening was we actually committed. That's our Zarya right there, and she's really high energy, and she was kind of committing in the back and just kind of wrecking their squishies. And the only player in the front there was their Zarya, who's weak and didn't have like proper support there to help her out. So the front line was just tanks without a lot of range. The back line, their Ana died. This is an extremely important pick because it just makes their Zarya it makes their tanks worthless. And they have a high energy Zarya behind them, and now they have to split their attention. And I think they should have just backed up, maybe killed the Zarya on the way out, and just regrouped. But instead, they try to commit forward, and they get crunched. They get completely split up. And at this point, I don't even know why they're still bothering staying in this fight. So another failed hold here. or a failed push for them, and their blade's coming back up because they didn't use it technically. Like as he used it, he died. I'll have a whole hog and a nano for it, and the play here is if they come server, we'll whole hog nano them to try to completely shut down their push. 70% and actually gets all the way to 90. Gets 30, like 20% from that fire strike, which is really nice. So you see the hook go down, they're committing server, and we instantly just hog, a whole hog and nano into them, and this is basically won. So our beat comes out for their sword, which makes a lot of sense. Their Genji dies. And at this point, it kind of looks won. Our Zarya gets 2 more picks. And our Reinhardt is sitting next to me, takes off his headphones and starts celebrating. And like even uses Zarya, like, and like takes off his headphones. He's not even on his keyboard right now. But there's still a Lucio on point. And they switched to dive, and there's a Lucio on point, and he has his ult soon, and they have ult still. So I was like, dude, put your headphones back on. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's not over. And everyone's like screaming. We're like losing our minds because we held this impossible push. And this Lucio's just kiting really hard, and by the time we kill him, the Earth Shatter comes out. And our Ryan's still alive here. So we still have, and they're also coming out now. That's our visor. And we actually end up cleaning them up, so not a big deal, but could have been really bad. Right now, just their soldier Ana, and soldier is really close to visor. He has it, but there's no way he's gonna win this. So we kind of really like lost our minds here. Atlanta just like jumped out of our seats. It was pretty intense. But I thought it was funny that even kind of like we thought it was over when there was still like one more fight basically. So it says Premier wins, but the team names got swapped when we went to lobby. It's actually our team that won, which is Squid Squad. This was the push I told you about earlier. This was the result of my hog on the right side, and this was the nano visor that came in just in time to wipe up, kind of to mop up the rest of their players. So really, really important nano visor there. So let's skip to the next map. Dude, Catacombs. Nice comp change after the pause. It's so much VM. We actually should talk them really hard. So the next map is Li Jiang, which is our pick and our home map, actually. We're really, really comfortable on this map. Maybe I shouldn't say that because we are going to be playing another LAN at some point, probably, another tournament. But we love this map. We have compositions ready for every stage. I think it suits our playstyle in general as well. So this is our composition. We insta-locked it basically. We run a Pharah and a soldier on night market, which is the stage. We alternate between like soldier, Genji, Pharah, stuff like that. Sometimes we'll run a tracer. This cameraman is actually just the worst. But so it's night market. We see they're running a Lucio now instead of the Zen, and they're running a Genji too. So I like their composition as well. I think it's very solid. Right now it's just a question of better team play, who can kind of get the most out of this situation. So the fight's about to start. This cameraman's still nowhere near the fight because we're like, I guess he has time. So we're both pushing here. We're gonna probably contest. Oh my god, he's typing. We're probably gonna contest courtyard. Yeah, and they decide to contest it too. And I like this. We're already like taking ground here, and they're kind of playing passive. This is actually very kind of very common on this area. We have one team that's slightly more aggressive, and this was really good from us, from our Lucio, just to have the speed. We got there really fast, and we are already kind of starting to take ground here. And it's obvious that we're the attacking team, especially with this Pharah, ready to kind of make use of this cramped alleyway to try to pull a lot of spam on them. So we're kind of just bursting shields down right now, and as his shield's about to go down, he goes for the pin with supported by the Zarya bubble,
Um, while he doesn't pin anybody and he does get completely like destroyed by their team, we actually got what we wanted, which was space. And this is why space is important. So despite the fact that we lost our Reinhardt, having the Ana on the back spamming, the soldier has like that's me, so I'm on soldier now, and you know, as you want to do, you always want to surround them. So I came in from the side, the Zarya, our front line, and the Pharah from the other side. Raining down spam on this choke. There's literally no way for them to get out. This is lost for them. So despite the fact that our Reinhardt died, his objective wasn't to actually pick anybody. It was just to create space so that we can actually commit like this. And from here, it's just, you know, cleaning up the rest of their players, getting on point. Nothing crazy here.
My ultimate is charged.
So they're getting ready to do another push here. And here we do a really good job of bursting down his shield. If you notice, he even like drops it for a second and it's already just completely mashed. So I have to give my team a lot of props. It can be really difficult for teams to focus shields down. And like it takes a bit of coordination and a lot of focus. So the fact that now we were obviously it's a choke and we're just spamming, but it was really nice for us to be able to do this much damage to it early. And I feel like we could have probably made more of it. So if you notice, their barrier's down. They just used their bubble. They used their biotic grenade. This would have actually been a really nice time for us to commit on them. Instead, what happens is we decide to just kind of keep fighting shield, and we actually end up losing the counter shield. So by the time he builds his shield back up and just repeaks, they end up winning the second shield fight, which is really shouldn't happen. I think probably a better adjustment that could be made here is as soon as their shield goes down, we can just approach them with the 500 health or 600 health left on our shield, and just kind of do the same thing, just with the Pharah up top, soldier from the side. Just kind of back them into this corner, maybe force them to either go to the point and bleed a player on the side, or just fight us right there and then. It wouldn't have been bad because we still have that shield protecting us from incoming damage and a lot of pressure on them to begin with. So maybe a better way of utilizing that is maybe recognizing when the shield is about to break and just instead of not pinning or anything, just regularly just walking up to them with our shield and showing them why winning shield fight matters so much. Instead, we decide to retreat to the point. Obviously, we had the option there of pinning them, but we decided to just retreat to the point and attack them from there. And from here, a really excellent pin comes out. This is such a strong pin, and such a good pin. He catches the best target he probably could, which is the Zarya, and he instantly kills her. And he even hits the soldier with that fire strike. And from here, Lofty pretty much instantly wins this fight for us. With that Zarya, with the amazing Zarya pick off the bat, she's such an important hero on these fights. And this soldier kind of hurt. They're kind of forced back, and now we push up to support him. We give him the bubble, the heals, and the nano boost. And he's just gonna try his best to zone them, and they're all gonna split up because they don't want anything to do with us. He sees Diana and he wants to kill her, but he didn't notice the Reinhardt was actually purple behind him. But he ends up dying anyway. So at this point, it's just nice, very nice cleanup. And the nice thing about that fight is that because the Zarya died so fast, we actually have a significant ult advantage. We already got a nano boost out, and their Ana hasn't even built her first nano boost out yet. We're ahead in all of our ults just because we won so many fights, and right now the idea is to use our Pharah ult to potentially just win a fight instantly without having to commit any other ults or anything else, which is what makes Pharah so strong on this particular map. So as you notice, he's actually floating right up here, waiting for us to tell him when they're pushing so you can get a nice barrage. Which is exactly what we do. We call that they're pushing, and then the pin comes in as a form of distraction, and as this is happening, the barrage comes out. And he actually knocks the Ana out. And again, Lofty doing really well on this map, just completely mopping them up in this choke. A beautiful hold there. We used one ultimate. That was it. We used one ultimate and held off their entire team. And now they're getting really close to the end of the map. They finally have their nano boost, and they should try to utilize this as much as they can here. I think they have good counterplay. Even though we just got our Graviton and we have our Lucio ult up, they have this option of using the Genji. So They decide to come from the high ground, which I like as an adjustment, but their Ana actually falls off and she gets grabbed. She gets grabbed and wrecked. And I actually like it. I watched this earlier. I didn't like it very much. Like I didn't like the grab very much, but because I feel like we didn't need the grab to kill the Ana there. Like she fell down. She was literally completely fucked. Um, but the grab actually did more than that. It actually stopped their team from supporting the Ana. Like it stopped the Reinhardt from dropping down and putting a shield in front of her. So she just got blown up. Um, Maybe she could have gotten the Genji with the nano boost before dying, because this is the last fight, and there's no way she's gonna get that nano off now, which I think is a mistake. But she could have even hit this. She could have hit anybody. Anybody would have been fantastic, except for Lucio. But instead she dies. And not to shit on anybody, not to harp on anything, but I do feel like their Ana is their weakest player on their team. Just from watching watching this VOD and watching how like our Ana's how much play our Ana's getting, how much more heals our Zarya is getting. Um, the nanos, how fast they're being built, timing, stuff like that. Our Ana seems to be really, really strong. And their Ana seems to be not super on point right now, maybe not having the best games. Um, they end up using a bunch of ults, and this soldier should be killing the Pharah, and he doesn't. So the Pharah should have died there, but we end up just ulting them anyway and just destroying them. The Genji ult gets shut down, I believe, and the rest is, they don't have a lot of play here. They end up using the nano, but I genuinely feel like obviously this is shit. This is not a good nano. This is a very desperation play, and there's no way that Genji's gonna get anything. Oh come on, you can get that. That's annoying. Oh, the struggle. But so this is already lost. We got so much more play than they did. There's not that much they could have done there. Well, I mean, there's a lot they could have done there, honestly. But
Score.
I know we just played that really well. They had to kind of bring their A game, and they didn't adjust properly. They didn't get information. They didn't, switch their composition in any way. So this is our composition for Control Center. This is what we like to run. So Web switches to Soldier. I switched to Hog. Still running the Zarya Lucio. And looks like they're thinking of what kind of composition they want to run against this. It looks like they're considering the Tracer, but I believe they switched back to Soldier anyway because they're afraid of our Pharah. Little do they know that Pharah's Web doesn't like running Pharah on this stage because she's just not as strong on this stage. So they run Soldier just so they can potentially deal with the Pharah. The Tracer would have been strong here because she would have contested this Hog, this Ana, put a lot of pressure on them, and had the same mobility. Even the Zarya is kind of slow. So the Tracer would have been an excellent pick for them, I think. But they decided to stick with the Soldier because they're scared of the Pharah. And it's fair, the Pharah did do a lot of work on that night market. But as soon as they know we're not running Pharah, I think they should just switch off or try the Tracer again. Regardless, so this cameraman's literally sleeping on the job, but this fight's about to start, and I actually end up getting a hook here. Actually, no, we get a pin here on the Rhine, and he just ends up dying. And I go for an immediate flank, and I'm able to hook the Soldier, and even kill the Ana here. And this Zarya is pretty dead as well. So this fight's already won. Like this is, we got 3 picks already, and we just need to back up. They need to retreat or die, and we need to cap the point. But a small mistake is made here, and we actually end up committing. So I actually end up committing. So Lofty, if you noticed, Orion charged earlier. Right there, he just whizzed by the screen. I think he was just trying to catch this Lucio or something. But he ends up he did catch Lucio. He kills Lucio, and I kill the Zarya. But now him and I are pretty committed. This Hog might be able to die, but it's not necessary at all. And our Ana's already fell back to the point to cap, which is the correct play. So our supports are actually capping the point, and I have 99 health here. And this Fire Strike actually kills me, and we drop 2 players. So this is a mistake, obviously. What could have been done differently? Lofty and I could have probably disengaged a lot earlier and backed up. Or the inferior play, which is our supports stick around and heal us. If either of those things happened, we wouldn't have lost the point after this, because now they're just going to retake the point 6v4. But I mean, as a support, that's the correct play is to cap the point. That's the whole point. So they were playing correctly, and we were playing incorrectly. So it's more on us to retreat there than it is on them to support us. So they're going to retake this probably pretty easily. We actually give it to them. We're not going to fight this at all. Sleep counter sleep comes out, which is pretty nice. But yeah, we give them the point because we know there's no point fighting this 6v4. Maybe we should have fought it and just delayed as long as we could have, because we don't know how this next fight's gonna go. But we decided to play it safe and just kind of regroup for this next fight. So here you'll notice something. So a small thing comes up here. We'll talk about this. Trade Ryan's. I kill the Lucio. I get hooked, but I actually destroy him. And we just kind of end up winning this fight by force. But I think a really big deal here was, again, I want to point out the Ana play. Notice the Zarya's position. She has a high energy. Her roll, I think, just broke. And she's going to start getting damaged here. And if you notice, she's actually not getting healed. And the reason she's not getting healed is because this Ana is actually shooting at our team. I guess she's trying to shoot her, I can't tell. But she's throwing shit at our team. And she even, did she throw a nade at us? I can't tell. But there's not enough energy right now. Yeah, she did. And the Earth Shatter comes out. There was like that. I like the idea. I like the idea here of nanoing for the DR, but she doesn't have her nade up, and that's not going to be enough to stop this Reinhardt from dying. So that's wasted nano. We trade Rein's here, and his hooks back up, and I actually hook their Lucio. He hooks me, and he does quite a bit of damage, but not enough. I actually trade damage with him, and because he hits his whole hog, I actually just end up getting a very quick left click and heal myself. So at this point, we just need to clean up the rest of these players. This cameraman does not know how to look at the fight. And they're just going to delay as much as they can, which is very logical. We're not going to make the same mistake. We're not going to commit for these bleeds. We know we just want to be able to hold here. Actually, Lofty tries to push up. I think I saw him to back up here. So here they're about to push us, and we do this kind of counter play on them. And small mistake here, which I have to point out. So if you notice here, we used whole hog, and I even tried to play it safe. I'm trying to break their shield. Like I'm not even getting in their face because I want to avoid the CC, but I don't get bubbled here. It's actually an issue. Like as a Zarya, when you know that this is a combo, like we already talked about, we knew that this was a combo that was going to happen, and when you know that's going to happen, you want to save your particle barrier for the whole hog, so that he doesn't get CC'd. Because if I was able to just get in their face fearlessly, which I'm not, because I don't to be completely fair, I didn't trust the Zarya because this happens a lot where I just get CC'd no matter what I do. Plus the burst damage could destroy the shield and I get CC'd that way by force anyway. But I don't get anything. I don't get a shield. I don't get a particle barrier. I just get Earth Shattered, and the ult's over. I still get their Ana, and we're still gonna fight this. So both beats come out. Visor Nano comes out, but it's met with a beat. But a nice play from Webwipe here. Finds the flank, finds the squishies, is able to get around this Reinhardt to kill the squishy players. So now the Rein has to commit to try to kill the soldier, but the soldier's too fast. And now this Rein's out of position. And by the time this happens, I'm surprised their tanks didn't get smashed on the point, but at this point they're just gonna try really hard to commit. The Rein actually dies. Where's the heals? That's the real question here. Did their Ana die? No, their Ana's alive. But yeah, that's the question here, is where are the heals? Maybe their Ana did die earlier in the fight. Yeah, I killed her, that's right, I forgot. I hooked her instantly, I killed her. Right here. So the Ana's not in the fight, so this is already problem for them. This is very risky for them to try to commit. And he gets annihilated as well in good measure. So yeah, there's no heals here. So it's a mistake for him to push up like this. They should just hold passive and make us push them. Actually, no, never mind. This is a losing fight. They already don't have the point. They should just back out here. So I don't know. I feel like they're committing to a fight that's not gonna be won. Not without the Ana at least. But maybe we traded Ana. I can't remember. But at this point, this fight is clearly lost, and they should just back up as fast as they can. Yeah, and fantastic camera work. Am I right? So even here, they just dropped their Zarya, and they can't push without their Zarya right now because their Zarya has ultimate. She literally just died. So they just need to back way the fuck back here. They need to get out. And just regroup, wait for their Zarya to come back. This is right now a bit of a mistake. They're feeding us ults, and their shields, like they're using cooldowns. Their shields like getting wrecked. Like they shouldn't even be peeking shield right now. They should be waiting for their Zarya to come back so they can actually start committing on this fight. But what does end up happening is they actually sleep me on the left here, and they decide to push. And obviously they get me here from the sleep. And the Earth Shatter is a nice idea, but it's not going to be enough here. And very logical ults come out here and ends up wiping us. I'll talk about that real quick. So let's talk about that particular push. So the idea here is very simple. Obviously, you always want to it's very natural for Hog to be playing on the right side here in white, just because. Sorry, that was the putting of the Rhine. Just because every time they push main, this Hog can get from the right side and flank them and get picks. It's very common, like everybody does it. The only issue there is there was probably communication failure. First of all, I got slept, and you know, I probably got completely burst down. But if there was some maybe potential faster communication that they're actually kind of still committed and going left, I would have maybe potentially been able to back up faster. As of this, like I wouldn't chalk this up necessarily to like a positioning error like earlier on Gibraltar, for instance, because I am playing close enough to my team. Like I'm playing within line of sight of my Zarya's barrier, within line of sight of my Ana's heals, but I just get slept and hooked. And I don't know, and there was just I didn't have the information to know that they were pushing that fast, and it kind of caught me off guard there. But regardless, they're able to still, even after this, what happens is more interesting. So the Hog actually starts, look at this disgusting sleep. The Hog starts to use his ultimate, and the our Ana throws a sleep like right down this particular corner and manages to barely hit the Hog, where our Reinhardt's Earth Shatter couldn't do it. So our Reinhardt's Earth Shatter, which has this massive area of effect, couldn't hit the Hog, but our Ana's disgusting sleep was able to get. Look at this, like it was actually came from this direction, barely just hitting him as he's ulting, which is huge because it saved our shield a lot. So he's sleeping. I think she was trying to hit the Reinhardt. To be fair, I think she was trying to hit the Reinhardt with the idea of comboing, because Lofty didn't even think, like he thought he was gonna get the Reinhardt. But that doesn't happen, and they used a million ults. So they used the Nano Visor, and this is very logical for them to go for a pin here with the Nano Visor, so the shield goes down and they can just kill the rest of our players. I like Web Wipe's position here, but there's just not enough damage, and we just kind of clean up. So I don't die again, which is nice. Even though I respawned late, I still wait. So I'm gonna creep up the server here. Soldier builds like 20%, which is not bad. From here, it's a question of how we want to push this. We decide to go server just because I already kind of cleared it, and I'm still, there's still this idea of, the flanking Hog. You see, even their Hogs like they're on the flank waiting. So they use the Grav here, and there's another logical alt combination, and he does get particle barrier, so good job for the coordination there, and they end up killing me. But their Grav only hits me and our Reinhardt, which isn't fantastic. And I say this before to all Zaryas, including ours. I prefer to catch supports with the Grav than catch tanks. Even if you can blow up the tanks, chances are you're gonna have a better chance of winning if you kill both supports, for instance. So this barrier goes down, and he just goes straight for a pin, and the only player they kill there is me. and they even still keep committing, but their Lucio is already dead from the pin, which is amazing. Again, amazing pins here. And Lofty's is gonna stay alive here, do the right thing. Kind of very risky, like very risky positioning here, very aggressive Zarya positioning. Probably could have taken it a little bit slower and maybe like figured out where everybody was. But kind of went balls to the walls. Their Zarya is also weak, so there's a chance she'll die here. But I think she does live. And the clutch here to save us is this soldier ult from behind. So really excellent coordination with our Ana and our soldier. So if you notice there, this basically it was already like a losing fight. We got grabbed, I died. We got their Lucio, but our Zarya couldn't get burst healed fast enough, so she dies. Their Zarya kind of lives, and now they have all this pressure on our Reinhardt, and we have no I'm really far away. But what happens is our soldier comes from behind and actually manages to get like all the way from behind and uses his ultimate to kill the squishies in the back. Which is really a really excellent heads up play. Not only does he kill the Ana instantly, which is the important pick here because she could have slapped him and Edwall could have fallen to pieces. But our Ana actually nano boosts him and he's able to continue the rest. Now note that this play actually happened to work, but maybe it wasn't the most optimal play. Which is to say, like it was like a really good play, but it's a very risky play too, because if you look at how this fight started going down, we dropped 2 players here. They only dropped 1 player, which was a Lucio to the pin. And the players we dropped were not by any means like, low impact. We dropped our highest impact heroes, which are Zarya and Roadhog, in this particular composition. Obviously, because we have ults here, these players are higher impact right now. But it's really difficult for squishies for like this is our only damage, and like Lofty's gonna have to go huge here with the Ana in order to make anything happen. So this is a losing fight, and from an analytical perspective, from a theoretical perspective, you would retreat here. You would just drop all your players back and regroup and then re-push with Nano Visor, with the idea of potentially maybe a Visor from up top, or any kind of sort of play. But we decided we wanted to commit here. Maybe potentially just because maybe the clock was 73%, so maybe we didn't want to take a chance there on having to maybe get earth shattered on our way in on a repush. So instead we just go for this, or they just this is a very off the cuff push from our soldier and happens to be well supported by our Ana, who just gets in position to clean up. So we get everybody, and now it's on. They have to push us. And we have potentially some ults here to contest them, if we build them fast enough. They still have Earth Shatter here, which can be an issue. So they're going to continue. So the Earth Shatter comes out, but the beat comes out with the barrier supporting, and this Reinhardt gets destroyed. We dropped 2 players, but we're just kind of trading back and forth here, and even just kind of a preliminary look at the heroes that are still up. They don't have enough here. Even with the Visor, I don't think they'll have enough. Yeah, really good grab here, just stopping the Visor. And that's this round complete. He probably could have built his graph faster by peeking, which is the only... Like, as a Zarya, you always want to kind of try your best to do that. We're going to see an example of how it could have changed maybe this particular round. This is our composition for Garden. We run this kind of comp, this dive comp, with the idea of getting on their healers and their squishies and just destroying them. It's forward seconds. So it looks like they decide to commit to a hog here, which I think is no. They shouldn't. We have a Pharah. So yeah, they think about the Pharah and they go for the McCree instead. This is interesting, actually. Their Ana and their McCree switched. Bluff was actually their Ana, and this guy was playing soldier damage. So they actually end up switching here, which indicates that they probably either haven't scrimmed as much together, or this is kind of a indicator of the fact that they didn't have mercs on their team. Like this wasn't their their full roster. They had a couple of people ringing, so probably didn't help. So here we're just kind of getting ready for this push. This is very risky for them to push bridge when we have a Pharah like this, but we see they have a Ryan, we're ready to go in, and our Winston goes in. Paul's target is the Ana. We kind of commit on her. They actually kill our Lucia, but we are able to kill their Ana, which is really strong. Barrett comes out in time for the concussion, and now our Pharah is just going to play on the point here. They're actually doing, so we actually end up dropping a lot of players here. This fight's already lost, but this Pharah is actually hitting a lot of shots, so this makes sense. You just want to delay the point as long as you can in a situation like this, so that when you respawn, the team can just come back in. So yeah, we were just delaying the point there. But a bit of a lost fight. I guess we could try reviewing it. We just didn't. The camera wasn't showing an excellent angle on it. So our Lucio, I see our Lucio committing on the right. And this is where he dies or she dies. Genji. I assume. Yeah. I think he's. Oh, he gets stunned. Oh, she gets stunned. I heard the stun come out. They kind of comboed them. But we're just kind of balls to the walling it. We killed the Ana, but it looks like they're committing on this side of the map too. So they get enough pressure here to get significant compensation. It looks like back and forth trading, but actually, yeah, with our Ana dying, there's not much that's going to happen there, even if this is already dying. So good attempt, I think, but okay, I'm not sure if we make any changes here. Potentially consider maybe changing to a Reinhardt for the McCree. But I don't think that happens right now. Actually, no, we do. Okay, yeah, we do. Switch to Reinhardt. Our Pharah dies. I'm not 100% sure how he died, but I'm not gonna. This is out of spawn. I saw him like up here. Well, I don't know what happened. Very random. So they have Blade already, and we're kind of trying to come in here on the right. But the thing is, like here, they have Shatter soon. Yeah, and this is a mistake. So this kind of backfires a bit. The idea is to kind of just go in with the, like earlier, with the Rhine pin supported by the barrier. But their Reinhardt does have ultimate, or barely just gets it. So this kind of results in everybody getting pinned, and combined with the Genji ult, which probably wasn't necessary, it just kills everybody. I think honestly as a team we get a little bit too caught up in this Reinhardt play. Even though it's really strong, I think there's a right time to do it and a wrong time to go for that kind of pin with the pin supported by the barrier. And I think maybe we could have played that potentially more cautiously. But they had play there anyway, like they could have stunned or shattered if they wanted to, so we just weren't counting ults properly because we just switched to the Reinhardt. So here comes another push here. This time they have High Noon. From their perspective, this will be interesting. But we do have ultimates. We have Nano Blade, we have Barrage. So it'll be interesting to see how this is utilized. So here comes the pin again. So this time we get the pin in, creating space, but the Deadeye kills the Pharah. And this, so while this Ryan's getting kind of really pressured, he actually ends up getting an Earth Shatter out and killing the Ryan. So we trade Reinhardts here, and we even get a McCree. So despite the fact that we dropped our Pharah and our Reinhardt, we actually get decent compensation here. And this is where kind of the Ana's duel, and you're gonna need a lot of help to kill Tickety. So this Ana misses some shots. These are important shots. So a bit of a whiff there. Could have killed our Ana, might have made a big difference, and we just kind of clean up the rest of them. So I think a very good fight. Very kind of shows our potential DMing skills as a team. Right now though, So now we have to hold for the full 100, and they just need to wipe us basically. We do have Graviton coming up, and we have Graviton. We have Barrage soon, and we have Barriers. So we have a lot. Even though they have Graviton, we have the Barrier for it. And this is risky for them to push bridge like this because we have Grav, and we can just meme them. We can just do the Grav here, and they all die. So I think they recognize this and decide to rotate, which buys us a decent amount of time. We actually killed a McCree here, which is an excellent bleed. Maybe if we didn't kill the McCree, they would have considered pushing bridge again, or maybe they would have considered and we've gotten like all 6. But a stagger is a stagger, so here we still have this is still on this combo. They still have their shit too, but here's another example of this play which I kind of disagree with. This idea. So here's the idea here. The idea is to pin the Rhine so that the shield's gone, and then you just Grav and then Barrage. But I actually disagree with it. Again, this is another example of this kind of idea of pushing Rhine and how it'll work sometimes. A lot of times it's not going to work, even if the idea works perfectly. So the idea here is get the Rhine out of the way. Well, it worked. We got the Rhine out of the way. But unfortunately, what the side effect this ended up having is that it pushed the rest of their players back anyway. And like, you know, the ult didn't end up doing anything. The ult didn't end up catching anybody because they all fell back because of the pin. And now our Reinhardt's out of position and he's anti-heal, and there's no way to save him because we already used our barrier. Which, by the way, is something else that, like, as a team, we argued about this a little bit. And this was my contention, was that it's not always going to be good to do it. And one of the reasons is because once you use your barrier on the Reinhardt and he pins in and the barrier is gone, he just gets anti-healed and there's nothing you can do. You can't cleanse him, you can't heal him. He's pretty much a free pick. And in this case, even though the idea was to follow up with ults, there wasn't like that much. Like Genji tried to use ult and die to our Zarya to the Grav, but this should have been a wipe. We should have been able to barrage the shit out of them. But like we don't need to push them here. This is another the idea of getting a pin in and going in works when you need to push them. But we don't need to push them. They need to push us. We have the point. So in a situation like this, they need to get in, and we can just grab them here. We can just grab them like right here as soon as they get to this line, and then the Pharah comes up from behind, easy barrage. Like and then you can use your particle barrier for the Pharah. You can just shield the Pharah instead of shielding the Rhine, and now the Pharah just gets like 4 picks. So I feel like we got kind of caught up a little bit in this idea, this play of kind of, oh, like it's really strong, we just kind of go for the pin and do it. But I don't think it's as strong as we think it is, because it's, you know, we didn't even kill the Reinhardt. He got naded. So I don't know. There's something to be said about maybe this play. Now, regardless, we still used barrier because they used their Grav, so we got the Grav out, and we killed the Genji too. So we're still up. We're up a Genji down the Rhine. And so they use their ults here. And remember, like this is very crucial. If we lose this point, they can just cap and we lose. Here's Tika being insane. He just 1v1 the Reinhardt. So let's do that again. Look at the Reinhardt's health. So he's got 186. The Zarya dies, or Zarya's not committing anymore. So now Tika just hits him twice and then melees him. Like that's insane. It's like absolutely insane. And so we end up losing both our damage. Our support still gets a pick. Akim dies. We kill their Ana with a barrage. And if you do a quick numbers count, we're actually not doing fantastic because our Rhine did die early. So our Rhine's on the way back. We have these 2 players, and their Genji just got back to the fight and just used this blade. And they have the rest here. This is theoretically enough for them to win. And they do kill both the staggers, or like both the last players, just Katakos and our Ana. And our Rhine gets back in just in time to get an Earth Shatter out. But by himself, it's not going to be enough. And he used it just because there's no time left. He wasn't going to get to use it otherwise. So regardless, I actually am able to get in here just before the overtime is over, and I'm able to get a blade out. So this is actually a little clutch, because The barber time's just about to run out. We're all basically dead. I still have a blade, so I'm able to just barely get into the window and use my blade, um, staving the point. And I actually get 2 frags here as well. I get the Genji and the McCree. So a very useful blade, to say the least. And those frags with, we'll see. So we actually got the Earth Shatter out. They tried to Earth Shatter me and he missed because I was dead already. And here we actually start getting more picks too. We get 2 more frags and this actually turns the fight. And we actually end up winning this fight. And now they're obviously their only move is to back up. Unless they do the correct thing, don't commit. They have one more fight here. But yeah, it's kind of like slightly clutch blade saves the point and wins it back. So right now they have to push us. They have no ults. They have nothing. We have an ult on the way, and it's a Zarya ult here, which is actually like very crucial, I think. So if I was Zarya here, I would strongly consider just spamming, and I think there's some spam coming in here. So if you watch, like, there's some spam coming in, but I would be playing even more aggressively than this. Like, I wouldn't be spamming from here. Like, sorry, I wouldn't be spamming from here. I would literally go bridge and just walk straight up and just start literally spamming as hard as I possibly can to make them come bridge. Just because at that point, like, you know that like this is like this would guarantee the win basically. It's worth it to get the energy just from them trying to spam you out, to bait them in, and to just build your graph faster than you otherwise would have. Instead, so by the time you rotate to bridge, they decide fuck it, we're just gonna go white, and now they're rotating to white, and our grab is not up yet. And this might have made the difference here because we're not building, if you can tell. Like, and this is like 10%. It's really hard for me to criticize this just because it's such a, like, you know, it was so close to getting it, and there's, you know, a million, you know, who knows, maybe there just wasn't any ins and he looked everywhere and there wasn't anything in. I'm sure he was trying his hardest to build here. But instead what ends up happening is they end up, so now the pin comes out and kind of followed up by this this Ana nade, but unfortunately counter pin comes in and he actually like pins our Zarya and she just finally gets to grab in. But by the time she does, we already dropped all our players. So unfortunately this loses us this round. But that was literally like one of the only things we could have done there is potentially build that graph faster. Other than that, that fight like was interesting. They kind of went for a pin, but well, we went for a pin first because he wanted to zone them away from the point, which makes a lot of sense. Supported by both particle barriers come out, and then Ana nade comes in, and we trade Lucio for Tracer, and then and I die here as well. So I think that's me on Soldier. So, you know, I guess maybe going for plays on the sides, we dropped both of our DPS, and this pin comes in very just tons of damage on the Zarya, and unfortunately, you know, very easy cleanup from there.
Score 2-1.
So back on Control Center, running the same comp as last time. They've decided to adjust here. Now their Ana and their McCree have switched roles, and now they're running a McCree and a Genji. So I think they decided, you know, maybe that worked on Garden, maybe it'll work on Control Center. And I do think McCree is really strong here. I think Control Center is one of the stronger maps for McCree out of all the ones you could pick from Lijiang. Just because, you know, it's a lot of spammy small corridors which he does really well at. The Genji is interesting, but like the Genji has no targets here, so I kind of disagree with this Genji pick a bit. Like we're too fat, we're too fast, and we have too much sustain. Like, who's he gonna attack? He's gonna attack the Ana and maybe the Lucio, but one barrier or one heal station or one speed, and you know he's useless. So I think maybe a Tracer again. I think a Tracer would be more accurate here. She's very strong and can easily engage on all of these heroes. I think in a safer way than Genji potentially can. But This fight's about to start. I heard a hook going out, but I don't know what happened there. Okay. So fighting shield and the pin comes out again. Amazing pin. It's so unfortunate that Zarya doesn't die there, but like such a so many good pins from Lofty this game. As the shield goes down, as the shield's dropping, as her shield wears off, supported by our barrier, goes for the pin and gets her. So obviously this makes sense, like the idea of why we go for these pins so much, because Lofty is a really good Reinhardt, and we have a lot of support behind it. Obviously an Ana nade here would have completely destroyed this position, completely opened it up. I guess we weren't. He probably didn't have it up. Like I guarantee you, if he had his nade up, he would have used it here. So he must have used it earlier on something. But obviously, an auto nade here would completely just destroy this entire push. And their nade comes down and saves their Zarya and kills our Rein. We traded Lucio for it, which is not bad. I hook their Ana here, and at this point, this is like pretty good. We're down, like we're both down Lucio, and we're down an Ana for a Reinhardt, which is actually like pretty good. Our Ana has a lot more potential playing here against their team with no Ana. So we're able to clean them up here. And it's actually a lot due to that, honestly. Ana is just so strong, and we have such a good Ana on our team that just having heals up is like their Rein's not going to be enough to contest with that. So here we see the build coming out. This is very good building. At least the idea. I'm still kind of, again, playing this position that I played earlier. Even though they punched me for it earlier, we're still kind of looking at, this is just like this is how you play this particular point. You want to play on the left side here with your flankers. So I guess we're expecting the Earth Shatter here, which is why we're playing a little bit spread. So I hook their Hog, but he kind of lives here. We get a nade out of it. And there's the High Noon. And there's the charge, which makes a lot of sense. And maybe if that charge hit, he would have gotten more with it. But he was still able to charge us from behind, or shadow us from behind after the charge. Kills the Reinhardt, but here we catch the Ana, and again, we talk a lot about how important Ana is just in general. And I like to see, grabs that catch Anas like this, because it makes a lot of sense. We lose the fight regardless, and that's okay. We're just gonna delay here as much as we can, I think. But the idea there was solid. Like there was a form of play happening. We just delay the point here. I wonder what could have been done differently there. So we had the High Noon come out, the Earth Shatter, destroy it. We lose Rein, and we don't get any kind of compensation for this. Here, idea maybe this should work. The Nano fire at will. We don't have Visor. I guess their barrier comes out, and they do have a Reinhardt here, and I end up getting picked by the McCree, probably on the side of the map. And yeah, their Reinhardt actually ends up blocking a lot of that damage. What could have been done differently? Well, ideally we would have had the Reinhardt. We would just alt nanoed him, but we didn't have the Reinhardt. So that's a really kind of tough ask. We do sleep the nanoed Rein, which is huge again. But yeah, this is kind of difficult to gauge when you're playing like in that first person. It's really difficult to analyze and go, they have a Reinhardt, so the nano is not going to be as strong here. But the idea at least was to hold the point as long as we can, and we got 60% out of it. So it's not bad, a trade for just the nano and the grav. The grav maybe, but I mean, it's worth it. The grav is worth it to stall like that. Now we have Visor, and I assume this Visor is going to come from high ground with maybe the Hog off the front, which makes the most sense to me, especially considering we're coming from server here. So yeah, the aimbot's coming from up top. So she doesn't see the aimbot's coming from up top. She just grabs this main, and this is actually really good for us because this grab's not going to do anything. We have so much shields, and there's not enough players committed. And this soldier actually scares anybody who wants to commit away. Like no one's going to want to peek this to get play on this grav. So they end up wasting their grav, and they end up wasting their to some extent wasting their sound barrier. Well, the sound barrier is strong because without it, maybe the Zarya would have died. We use our Earth Shatter here. I think maybe to try to kill the Genji, and we actually end up killing their Ana here. So you notice a pattern here. The Ana's always dying in these fights, and she's always dying pretty early. And that's kind of by design. Like as a team, we understand that Ana is really strong, and we try really hard to focus her. And if there's an Ana with like slightly subpar positioning, you're gonna get completely like smashed and punished for it, because it's really easy to notice when an Ana's not playing where she should be. The Zarya's out of position. We actually end up losing this fight, I think, despite the fact that we got the early Ana pick. We traded. What did we trade? So they drop Ana, we drop Ryan, and then they drop Genji. So we're up a player here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus 4. The Zarya's out of position, so I think maybe we're a little split here, because we have players here. We have the soldier in the back, Lucio here. Maybe if we both converged on the Zarya, who's slightly out of position from her team, this would have been a frag, or this would have been a pick, I guess. But instead, so this Ryan comes in with a pin to support this Zarya, and our Ana gets hooked from the side. And now they're committing on me, which I kind of disagree with. Like, this Ryan's not going to do anything in the back there. He actually dies. So like, this is like, you're not going to win that 1v1 against a hog. Better to just back up here and play the point and make me come back to you. But so, you know, this Zarya is actually now pretty high energy, and my Zarya comes this way to try to support me. And we kind of like, this is tricky. We're still trading damage a lot, and we finally get in a position where we can put our Reinhardt in front of everybody and just zone them off the point. This is very classic, you know, classic Reinhardt. And once we're established presence on the point, it's going to be really difficult for them to push us off. So we get a couple of picks, and from there it's pretty easy. The Reinhardt is here way too late. Because he died to me earlier, he wasn't there to contest. So, and the Zarya should be the last player to die. And we have Grav here, and the idea may be Grav whole hog. But yeah, no, they just weren't in good enough positions. It was a long fight, and they did get the point out of it, so we had to recapture. But the Ryan committed too early and died, and by the time our Ryan got back and established himself on the point, there's nothing they can do here. Our Ana is way too strong with the Ryan to be able to do anything. And now our Zarya can safely play in the back. So, going back here. That Zarya could have potentially gotten out with high energy, I think, but she stuck around too long. So maybe here a potential of using Grav the choke, but we decide to back up. And we're going to use it here, I think. The same play as last time, where we're just going to surprise them with it. I'm getting ready to get... You guys aren't ready, I'm going to get triggered here. So here's the Grav, and I get CC'd, and it just like, blows my mind that I get CC'd there. So let's just watch that again. So I keep talking about this. I'm not joking. Like, this literally just only happens to me, and I don't know how. Again, I could be playing as passive as I possibly could with a whole hog. You have no idea. But like, she misses the particle barrier. She hits the Reinhardt with it, which is useless. And I'm sitting behind the shield, and I'm literally the only player who gets CC'd. Look at this shit. I get CC'd through the shield while they're in the Grav. Like, what is this shit? I'm actually so mad. You guys have no idea. Like, how does this happen to me? Where is my particle barrier? Where's my shield? Like, how am I getting fucked through this shit? I swear to God, the Ana could have hit a sleep through me, through all that shit somehow. But like, oh, I'm so mad. This particle barrier should have been on me, and I should have just been able to get in their face, and they're all dead. Like that's how easy that is. It doesn't matter because we win anyway because we're amazing. But like, I don't know, like that kind of stuff just triggers me. That just shouldn't happen. So we just win just because we have extremely high energy Zarya who's just shitting in their mouths. We have an insane Earth Shatter come out after their Earth Shatter fails, kills their Ana instantly, and at this point, you know, it's just a question of cleaning up. The Grab's not going to be enough. They actually nano Ryan, so you know they could have done a lot with that Grab. But again, our Ana's way too strong, and she just heals right through it. We actually have a so there's that. So nano countered by the Genji ult, by the Lucio ult instantly, and then despite the fact that we're caught in the Grav here, the Ana and the Lucio combined heal too much for this to be effective. And with the Earth Shatter, these damage dealers aren't coordinating their damage in time, so damage gets split up over a longer period of time. They're not able to kill us through the barrier. That's GG. So that's it. That's the tournament. This was the grand final, and this was the winning match, winning moment. And And yeah, no, it was a fun time. It was a good LAN. It was a good win. We all played well. Um, Kudos to the team. I think everybody played exceptionally well. Obviously, there's small things that we could change, but I mean that's the kind of stuff that's gonna happen on any team where things can be different. But yeah, no, it's like it was fun. It was good. Everybody played well. Um, it was a good time. I'd do it again. We probably will do it again. We're probably gonna get back in here. Um, but yeah, that was a small. This is the second time I'm doing this analysis because the first time it was cropped, so it didn't work out so well. But this time hopefully it's better. Let me know what you guys think. Obviously, I'm gonna get people who are gonna disagree with me, probably from my team, on some of these things, but that's okay because I'm opinionated and everybody can have an opinion sometimes. That's okay. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.